Hello everyone, I am Duke James. This is EU4 Meiou and Taxes 3.0. I was given access to the mod by the mod team, so thank you to them. I'm going to play around a little bit with Hungary. Really wouldn't call this a campaign. I'm going to try to focus on the economy. First, I'll try and give at least a brief overview of everything. There's some stuff I don't know. Some of you might actually know more than me, depending on how much you've paid attention to the development diaries and watched some of the content that's coming out, some of the streams, some of the videos. There's a huge change to the advisors now. They're actually pretty cheap. They give a thing called influence, and they also give yearly corruption. So no influence. Influence is tied to decisions. I think these are, I don't know if I'd call them laws, but reforms? I think they're reforms, actually. So these are reforms pertaining to the estates. The green are good for the estate. The red are negative for the estate. So you want to do green bureaucracy reforms and green burger reforms, because burgers can give you a lot of money, and bureaucracy is just good. Bureaucracy is pretty much like your state, your central bureaucracy. You want to improve that as much as possible, and you want to reduce the clergy and the nobles. So the bureaucrats, they're you, but then they're also not you. Like, it's different. It's its own estate, but it's practically you in a way. And then the burghers, clergy, nobles. There's this fifth thing, which is select, which only has convert minorities in it, which I'm not actually sure what that does. It says evangelize provinces, but I don't think that actually does anything. You use this actually when you want to select provinces. So you would go down here to province selection and then use that estate, and then it'll do like a little thumbtack on that province, and then you can interact with it in the decisions tab. So you could do things like open new slots, talk more on that later. You could construct buildings, delegate, actually not that. You conduct the census, so you can find out how many people are here, the size, the growth, etc. So that's what influence does. And you either need, I think you need a certain amount of influence. So you'd pick your advisors, and then every month you would get influence with that estate. Chiefs influence, we don't have actually any chiefs, so that would be worthless. So there's spiritualist, which is clergy, bureaucratic, which is bureaucratic, aristocratic is the nobles. And then I think, yeah, metropolitan is the other one, so that would be the burghers. So you can choose your estates, choose your advisors. The thing is, when your guy dies, there's actually a pretty nasty, let's just kill my guy right now, actually. There's a thing called faction alignment, so it's no longer related to, there's no celebrations anymore. It's something called faction alignment. You can begin a new alignment, which would make your advisors leave your court. You would lose 50% progress towards stability, but then you could choose new advisors. Or you could continue with the current leadership, which would just piss off everybody. And you would lose 50% progress towards stability anyway. So you're going to lose stability progress once your ruler dies, which makes sense. Every time your ruler dies, there's going to be some instability. But if you want to continue with the current leadership, then you're going to make everybody mad. That 15 relations isn't loyalty, so I'm not actually sure where that relations is stored. It might be individually in the provinces. Something like that. So if you can begin a new alignment, and then you would choose to align with one of the estates. So they would gain influence, but you would lose relations with other states. You could also align with no one, and that would make people mad still. Let's do that. So I think if you do that, you can choose your own guys then again. But they really don't want you to change your advisors, because if you do that, then you lose 25% stability points. So I'll go ahead and fire that guy, see what... We'll take that stability loss. Alright, then there's something called Delegating Tax Code, which is you spend mana, and it's the cost to maintain your bureaucracy, pretty much. Admin relates to taxes, mill power relates to levies, diplomatic relates to estate stuff, like dues and stuff. You can set these to whatever you want. I think they recommend 12. I think 12 is like the optimal position for countries. So if you wanted more extra tax income, I could set this to like 50. I'll set it to 40. On the next yearly tick, that should increase my taxation income by like 2 or 3 ducats. You could set this, I'm pretty sure you could set it to whatever you want. I don't think there's an upper cap, but there is like a hard upper cap where the game will be like, all right, you can only use 80 admin power. So I could set this to 200, but the game's only going to take like 80 because that's the top level. Let's go ahead and do that. January is actually pretty bad with calculations. I did notice another thing that changed is you can pretty much attack anybody after a month. So you don't have to wait a couple of years before you can attack. You just have to wait 1 month, and then you can start declaring war. We're actually at war with Venice at the start. I'm going to focus on the economy, so I'm not really going to fight this war. We did roll a 6 fire general. Here are the government stuff. They actually tell you when the estates desire privileges, so that's nice. There are still privileges, there's still favors. There's a whole bunch of different things for those. There's no more, the big thing from that is there's no more manpower from the nobles. You can't demand manpower, and you can't get troops during wars, so they no longer fund their own militaries. The way manpower works, the military, you're paying for manpower, so your stuff actually costs 1 ducat, and if you delete a troop, you actually get that back. You get that manpower back. So we just gained 1,000 manpower getting that back. It's not dependent on your professionalism anymore. But the cost for the troops is actually borne by the estates. So if I build a couple troops, it shouldn't increase the cost. I think it's like about 151, so it'll actually increase it, but I don't think that's supposed to happen. Okay, see, it's set it to 12.3, and it set the mill power to 7.9. I don't know if it's setting it to that or if it's just taking, I think it's just taking 7.9. So for mill power, it's levies 7.9. It's what that's going to obligate. The diplomatic power, it's going to obligations, so noble dues, noble levies, and charter fees. And then the admin power is going to land tax and rent dues. So my assumption is that's the cost for getting those taxes and people. The other modifiers, there's executive power, power void plus 15 corruption. Don't know what any of this means actually. Ruler authority, institutional authority, centralization effect. I think this is just dependent on their skill level. I'm not sure about that. Then there's a faction overview. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the factions all... Okay, so the factions all interact with each other. So right now the aristocrats hate the state. Well, it says they're neutral, but they minorly dislike them. And the state's spiritualists minorly dislike the state. I'm not sure what this actually does. Like, if you get them to really hate you, what would that do? Probably... See, I don't know, because if the aristocrats hate the if the aristocrats hate the metropolitans, why do I care? Maybe you want them to fight each other. And then the privileged desires, advisor test. I guess that's just advisor overview, skill 1. We only have one advisor, so it only shows admin. Faction 3. Guess the spiritualists are the third faction, so that's just like an overview. This is all the same, except you can select and deselect provinces in other countries, which I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. I did it with that Poland. I did it with Poland. I'm gonna go ahead and deselect those. Unless you can find out, like, can I conduct a census on another country? So you can conduct censuses and find out a whole bunch of information about wealth and population and stuff. I don't think you can do it on other countries, though. Or maybe you can. Maybe this is Poland. They produce 211 food, but they demand 228. They produce 96. I think this is Poland, because Poland produces a lot of salt, so they produce 96 salt. They only use 45. So maybe you can find data on other countries. So I'm pretty sure that's what that is, actually. Let's see. This looks all the same. Your income from trade is going to be a lot less, actually, because now you can tax different things, so we only make 0.71 ducats from trade. The institutions themselves, there's legalism, which looks like most of the world starts with meritocracy, which the Ottomans... So this area starts with meritocracy. So that'll probably actually spread a lot quicker, I imagine. I assume China also has it. Let's actually see. Yep, China has meritocracy. Just looking at the map really quickly, the big thing I noticed was Hindustan. So there's no Jaunpur, Delhi, and Multan. It's all Hindustan. And they pretty much own a lot of India. There was that. This area is now controlled by Turkmenistan, so it's not colonizable anymore. You can just conquer it. And then Africa, they changed a lot. They added extra colonizable territory. I think this total overall got smaller, because if you notice, Goa, or this province, pretty sure this province was surrounded by provinces in the 2.52, so they now made this like its own area. pretty sure they reduced the provinces, especially since they made some colonizable. They did that over in Mexico as well, but I think they only did it with a couple provinces. I think that's the main thing from the map. I think they also did that over here as well. I think some of these were just not colonizable before, but they made them colonizable. This country is pretty much the color of colonizable territory, which is a little bit annoying. Not a whole lot of changes to the map, actually. Alright, anyway, back to the... Okay, you can't see technology if you don't have a country. Casual literacy. Actually, I didn't actually go over these. So legalism gives maximum centralization plus 15. Meritocracy gives tech cost negative 100%. Yearly corruption negative 0.3. Admin efficiency plus 10%. The earliest data can spawn is 1,000, which is 300 years before the game starts. Commercialization gives yearly inflation reduction negative 0.01, interest per annum negative 2, global trade power plus 10%, tech cost negative 100%. So at the start of the game, if you embrace commercialization, you can actually get techs for like 30 monarch power. Which seems really low. Casual literacy gives tech cost negative 100%. They all give tech cost negative 100% actually. Monthly autonomy change negative 0.01. Years of separatism plus 5. Global institution spread plus 10%. And institution spread in true faith provinces 10%. Colombian imports just gives 100% tech cost. This, pretty sure this, you need this in order to start growing certain things in Europe, like potatoes. I think there's potatoes, potato industry. There's wheat, rice, so you need Colombian imports to grow rice, maize, millet, potato. Yeah, you need that for those industries. You also need soil quality, so you can find soil quality by looking at the terrain. Soil quality in this province is 57%. The average temperature is 5.3 degrees Celsius. There's 74 forest land. The natural deposits are gold. Speaking of that, I'm kind of bouncing around, but there's a natural deposit in this province of coal. The province doesn't produce coal. There's no coal industry. So you'd actually go here and find coal. You'd select that province, hit coal, and then it would create a new industry, coal. But the infrastructure isn't there for coal mines. It's 0 out of 300. So to actually grow that, you would go to the macro builder and invest ducats. You can invest 1,000 ducats. It will develop the industry. I'm pretty sure it happens immediately. So you'd get 300 out of 300 mines, coal mines, but it wouldn't produce anything if you don't have this industry. In order to get this industry there, you need to embrace commercialization. Right now, as Hungary, I don't have commercialization. So if I wanted to, I could get the mines built, but I'm not going to actually make anything. And it would actually lose money, so I'm pretty sure there's no reason to do it until I embrace commercialization. But once that happens, you can go ahead and start developing those mines. Alright, back to the tech. Scientific method. Diptech, negative 5%. Miltech, negative 5%. Happens in 1550. I don't think there's actually any requirements yet for these. They don't. Oh no. Yeah, they don't say. You get institutions by developing higher education. That's one of the industries. It's under elite, so that right now there's only religious education and commerce. So you could go open a new slot. I'm pretty sure there should be a higher education, higher learning, knowledge. You need 10k urban pop. And that's how you get the institutions, I believe. The next one is global trade. Gives a merchant trade power abroad, tech cost negative 100%, trade range plus 25%. Academia gives possible advisors plus 1, idea cost negative 10%. Global institution spread plus 10%, admin tech cost negative 5%. Nationalism gives morale of armies plus 2.5%. Manpower recovery speed plus 5%, monthly war exhaustion negative 0.01, the tech cost, years of separatism plus 20. So that's 25 years of separatism just from those two institutions, and 5% liberty desire. And the last one in 1750 is industrialization, which gives shipbuilding, recruitment, time negative 10%, global ship repair plus 10%, reinforced speed plus 10%, and then the tech cost. So I'm pretty sure they happen every 50 years. Between commercialization and casual literacy is 100 years, and then it's every 50 years a new institution spawns. I don't think there's any tech penalty for not having institutions. I don't know if that's going to be implemented. I think the way it's balanced is having an institution reduces your tech cost by negative 100%, so I don't think it's actually going to increase if you don't have it. It's pretty much the opposite now. And then for ideas, there's you start with 2 now. You start with 1 fully done and then 1 half done. A little bit more than half done. Probably won't go over all of the ideas. I did create a chart. I put it on the Meiou and Taxes subreddit, so if anybody wants to look at that, it doesn't actually have the things on it, just the requirements and the flow of them. But if people want, I can go through each and every one of these. But the Hungarian ideas themselves give negative 5% farmland cost. Pretty sure that means one of the buildings, which I'll probably go into in a different video. Culture conversion resistance, negative 10%. Spirituality concern, plus 25%. I don't know what that means. Tolerance to the true faith, plus 1. Diplo rep and improve relations. Institutional authority, plus 10%. Ruler authority, negative 10%. Hierarchy concern, plus 25%. Okay, so that concern relates to hierarchy. Hierarchy is the thing for nobles, which it's under treatment at the bottom. Hierarchy plus 2.48. So I'm pretty sure that I was told it deals with the loyalty in the province. So it will reduce. The higher that is, the more unrest reduction you have in that province. And then garrison infrastructure cost negative 10%, fort maintenance negative 10%, fort defense plus 20%, elite power from autonomy negative 10%, national unrest negative 1, monthly autonomy change negative 0.05, and maximum centralization plus 15. So you start with all of the ideas completed because you now have 2 idea groups. And this is, just ignore this because this isn't updated yet. I have the updated chart. I believe it's all correct on the Meiou and Taxes subreddit. But I think that'll be it for this episode. So I'll continue this in the next episode. Really want to get into the nitty-gritty with the economy, just play around with it, and go from there. So thank you for watching, and goodbye. There's a lot to unpack, but yeah. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.